This is Bruce Bochy, and you're listening to the Ranger Report.
The Ranger Report. Yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go.
This is the Ranger Report podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the World Series champion Texas Rangers, from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter, Tyler Nilson, and CJ Berryman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ranger Report podcast, brought to you, of course, part of the Fans First Sports Network, brought to you by Waltons, everything but the meat. Visit waltons.com to check them out, especially around Christmas time. Of course, presented by Dallas Sports Nation, and we are always on the Preferred Health Solutions online studio. I am Ben Dieter. You can find me on the X at BDieter75.
I'm CJ Berryman. You can find me at CJB_RR on that X-rated app.
And I am Tyler Nilson. You can find me on that porn site at TPN 1983. And we are joined by a very, very special guest, a family member of my cousin, Parker Bridwell. How you doing, Parker?
Hey, you don't have to make me feel that special, but I appreciate it.
You are.
Good, man. Good to see you again. Good to see
you too, man.
CJ and Ben, good to meet you. Heard a lot
Good
about your show.
Thank you.
I told Tyler earlier I've been watching it today just to I've been kind of nervous, you know. I don't like the camera very much, but I did it because there's two Hereford boys on here, and Matt called me, and you know, obviously Tyler's brother, and asked me if I'd do this. I was like, there ain't no question, absolutely. So I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
We do appreciate it, and like I said, I told CJ, you know, off air before we had John, when he told me we were going to get you, that I actually remember you because you pitched for the Angels, obviously a rival of the Rangers. So that made me remember your name because you know, you always know your enemy, you know. But I know,
absolutely.
I know you grew up a Rangers fan, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. From Texas. The furthest thing from an Astros fan, but yes, I was a Texas fan. Rangers, obviously.
I like that. I like that, Parker.
Right
hey, there's two former quarterbacks from Hereford, Texas on this podcast right now.
Oh yeah, there is, huh? Well, I mean, you can't put me in a category with you, but
no bullshit.
I mean, we did play quarterback for Go Herd. Hence my username.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's great.
Yeah, I like that. Parker.
Love it.
Never forget your home, baby. Never forget it.
Nope.
All right. So as a longtime Rangers fan, Parker, what was it like for you? Like it was, I'm sure it was like for us to watch the Rangers finally win a World Series.
Yeah, man. Oh, it was cool. To be honest with you, you know, after I retired, or I say retired, after COVID kind of retired me, you know, obviously it just wasn't COVID, had a kid and a beautiful daughter that I get to see every day now and stuff like that. But, yeah, you know, after baseball, I kind of checked out. I didn't really keep up with it much. You know, I would obviously see stuff on you know, ESPN, that sort of thing, but I never watched any World Series. But this one was a little bit different, solely for the fact that, you know, Texas is where I'm from. And, you know, when people always say, well, are you still a Rangers fan? And I'm a baseball fan, right? I'm a fan of the sport. At that point, when you get to the game and you have to play for an organization that pays you, the fan isn't in you anymore. Obviously, you have to handle business. You know what you're there to do. But I've always been a Texas fan, like I said, and this one was a little more special to me. So I watched it, you know, and a little cool piece of information. I also watched it more because of Jonah Heim. And Jonah Heim,
we love Jonah.
We came up in the minors together with Baltimore. Got to know each other really well. He's a good dude, man. Been through a lot in his life. You know, and for him to kind of get to the peak here and you know, reap the rewards of all that work he's done. And you know, his dad passed away, I believe it was a while back, and you know, it's pretty cool. You know, you can't help but to think when you know somebody like that you know, his dad actually, he's up there watching, and
he's smiling.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You think about how proud he is, and he's not even your dad. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
right.
I had a little more ties to that, and that's more or less why I watched it, other than just being the Texas Rangers.
So I had a question, and now I got to rearrange it because what you brought up, Jonah. So he's the highest rated catcher as far as pitch framing goes.
Absolutely.
What was it like? What was it like throwing to him?
I mean, you could tell. I mean, I hadn't thrown to a big league catcher when I met Jonah Heim. You know, I hadn't really seen, what kind of work it took back there to be a top notch guy in the show every day. And you could just tell by the work ethic. You know, you didn't know what level he was on yet because you're on the same level. You hadn't reached the level higher than that yet. But you could tell the guy, the way he went about his business every day. Kept his head down, worked his ass off, and good things only happen for people like that. You know, and like I said, he went through so much stuff in his minor league career and all that, and just like I said, it just makes me feel proud of him just knowing his story and where he got to and what he accomplished this year.
Parker, kind of going back a little bit to the past, how weird was it, talking about the Rangers, how weird was it suiting up for the Angels and pitching against the Rangers?
Well, it's funny you ask. So I never.
Yeah, you're facing Adrian Beltre, and I'm gonna interject just real quick. I'm sitting at bar 3 here in Amarillo, right off the golf course with my dad, and watching you pitch against the Rangers. You facing Adrian Beltre, and I'm sitting there going, "This ain't real.
I'm sorry.
This ain't fucking real."
Back, Tyler. I did pitch against them. I got optioned on the runway when we flew to Arlington on the plane. So that's where I was coming from. I totally forgot I pitched against them.
You did?
Yes, I did at home. I apologize. Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
CJ, I'm sorry.
That was not a fun game. That was not a fun game to watch, Parker. I'm just going to be honest.
And I'm at Tyler. Can I interject here for one moment? Because I was sitting there going, okay, I hope Parker pitches well and the Rangers still win after he gets out of the game. Tyler said, fuck that. I hope he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, well, he's family, so I'm glad you said that. So that makes me feel good. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when you get to that level, and I guess I'll go back to the years I spent in the minor leagues, right? I didn't just go to the big leagues. I did every level in the minor leagues, multiple years at a couple levels. So like when you go through that, you develop, and I think my parents and my coaches in high school, all my family, you know how my family is, Tyler. My dad is pretty hard nosed. CJ, you've met him. He's pretty hard nosed, mentally tough type, no bullshit type thing. So
yeah.
I give a lot of credit to him and my mom because I was brought up that way. When I got in the in the minors, I was pretty mentally tough. I thought I was ahead of most of them, to be honest with you, at the level I was at. But when you're on the mound, you don't see colors, you don't see logos, you don't see nothing. You see food on your kid's plate down there, and you better not let them hit it because that food will leave that plate if they do, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's well said.
It's just the competitor in you. You kind of get blinded, if you will, in terms of who's in the box. I don't give a damn who you are, what your name is, how many homers you hit, how many years you played in the big leagues. If I'm on the mound, I think I'm better than you, and I think I'm going to get you out. And I think that's the mentality you have to be successful. I had a little bit of success, obviously. I was more fortunate than most people in the world ever will be to play this game, and I'll never take that for granted. But yes, I think the main thing was, you never saw colors or logos. Once you're at that level, you were trying to make a living at that point.
But Parker, it's called clearing the mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And you don't see, and I pitched for Hereford too, a little bit before Parker's time, but. You just don't, when you get up there and you get locked in, you don't hear anything. All you see is the catcher and not really even the hitter. It doesn't matter. So it's
Parker, kind of going back to what you were saying, when did it really set in for you? Like, when you got called up, you're professional, the news, but when did it actually, what game did it click in that, wow, I am here? I'm in the big leagues.
Yeah. I would say, man, So like when I debuted, I was out of the bullpen and there was a 2-hour rain delay.
Correct. I remember that.
I remember that
hot
too.
to start the game after the rain delay. That was just, I was not hyped up timing wise. You don't really know until 30 minutes before. I think it really hit when I walked out of the locker room, out of the clubhouse after that game and saw my mom and dad, to be honest with you. Like,
well,
you see your parents and when they're proud and stuff, but like that was one of those moments, like it just replays in your head kind of thing,
That's awesome, man.
So,
very well said.
So as far as what was your put away pitch? What was the pitch that you knew when you threw it that you could get a guy out?
I can tell you.
I knew you could, CJ. That's why I asked the question. I knew you probably already knew the answer to this question. What was your go-to put away?
change up for sure. Depends on what year you're asking, I guess.
and then the slider, was good.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, honestly. I mean, once you get to that level, you can have a put away pitch in single A, low A, double A, maybe in some games. But once you get to that level, your put away pitch is what the lowest percentage of them, making contact in certain counts, right? So, you get all these, and here's I'll probably say something opposite of every pitcher you've ever heard from, but when you go, you're in the big leagues and you get this scouting report, they'll bring you a book full of shit, right? That all these hitters are good at.
Uh-huh.
That what they're good at and what they're bad at, right? Well, if I can get somebody out and I got to the big leagues with what doing what I'm good at, why the fuck would I do why would I try to pitch to their weakness, right? Why wouldn't I just pitch to my strength?
There you go.
That was my mentality. Sometimes it worked. Obviously, sometimes at that level, something's not going to go your way all the time. But yeah, I mean, I pitch to my strengths. I like to know who swung 0-2 counts, who swung early, and who stole bases. Yeah, that's it, right?
Yep, so, I'd say I love that. I have not heard a pitcher say before that he just pitched to his strengths, because that, like you said, it's exactly right. I mean, you didn't get there by throwing what other people couldn't hit. You got there by just throwing things that other people couldn't hit.
Correct. Yeah, they don't draft people, but for how well they can execute a scouting report.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. I love that.
Hey, actually, nowadays they probably do.
Yeah, there's so many analytics. And Parker, you played in the big leagues whenever that transition was you kind of saw it happen with the whole analytics thing coming along, and you're getting so much information all the time. And like I said, I liked hearing that. Fuck whatever this says. I'm coming at them with what I can do.
Yes, sir.
So talk about that analytic part.
Yeah. So and that's partly why, I decided to take my career in a different direction when I did. Obviously, COVID has had a little bit of play in that. But, as I sat there for a whole year when the season wasn't going on, I just kind of went over what pros and cons were, if I did go back, if I didn't go back. And, at the end of the day, they don't want people who can get 3 outs. They don't give a shit if you can get 3 outs in 9 pitches. If you don't have a high spin rate, you're going to the minor league.
Spin rate. Yep. I was going to bring that up.
The next guy's coming, right? And the way I was brought up is you be efficient, 12 pitches or less in an inning. You can go deep in a game as a starter. Your job is to keep your team in the game. And that's what I went out there every time I took the ball to go out there and do, is to keep my team in the game until they pulled me out of there. Would do anything I could talking wise to get to stay in, obviously. But, if they felt that it was the best time for the team to pull me out and that was our best chance to win, then hell, I'll fucking go sit on the bench and watch us win. Absolutely. But, I just didn't agree with most of the stuff that's going on now. Back then, everybody that coached, every manager, every coach on the bench was a veteran. Nowadays, everybody's coming from MIT and fucking Yale and Harvard that's never played the game to read numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't have the feel of the game. They're too dug into the numbers and not feeling the game, which I love. And Tyler, your question's up next. But I feel like that was kind of a great thing to have Bruce Bochy come in to manage the Rangers, and Mike Maddox coming back to be the pitching coach because it was no bullshit. Go out there and pitch.
Absolutely. That's kind of if I had a choice who I could play for, I want the oldest managers in the game. Obviously, Buck Showalter, I had a chance to play for him and loved him. He was an old school guy. I'm not going to say that, but I'm not going to say this. But yeah, they had a guy in the minor leagues that had a pretty high up position that just didn't mesh with Buck Showalter. So you have the minor leagues trying to I don't know, not teach at that point. You don't teach. You kind of, I guess, guide in terms of pitch sequencing and shit like that. Mentality was one thing. Buck's an old guy, and this guy was old as well, but he had a newer analytical approach, So that was kind of where I felt like my career got a fresh start, honestly, is when I got out of there and got some new scenery.
Hey, Parker, let's talk about your days before you became a pro. What kind of led up to it? I mean, we know you were let's just be honest. You were a great basketball player. You're a great football player. You had a scholarship, if I'm correct, at Texas Tech to be a quarterback.
Yes, sir.
And then you got drafted, obviously, by the Baltimore Orioles. During that decision-making, what made you choose the love over baseball over all the other ones? What made you decide, hey, this is what I want to do the rest of my life, or, for this period of time, however long it lasts? Yeah,
for sure. Good question. I don't know if I would say what made me choose the love the love for baseball over anything else. Like I said, I'm a competitor at heart. Like I compete in anything, So when this whole decision came up, it was more or less, when I'm at the age I am now, do I want to potentially have 6 concussions under my belt, or do I want to be able to play catch with my girls in the backyard when they potentially play softball, or, kick the soccer ball with them and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it came down to longevity. The smartest decision for me, it was the smartest decision I've ever made. We negotiated 4 years of college in our contract. So 10 years after I retire, the day I retired, I have 10 years to complete 4 years of school on the team, on the Orioles. So, all that came into play, obviously. Back then when I signed in 2010, it was right around that era where everybody was saying, you can't have tattoos and you better have a degree to get a job, right?
Well, Parker, we got them all now.
That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty much covered, but
I don't
care. That's fine. I can still work my ass off regardless of what's on my body, right?
Yeah.
But,
right.
At the end of the day, it was longevity, health wise. I did love football. I had so much fun playing football. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just kind of decided to do it because I wanted to be healthy later in life. If something did happen, like retired before I thought I would, obviously everybody dreams of playing 10 years in the big leagues at least and doing all that. But hey, at the end of the day, baseball comes to an end for everybody.
Have you ever thought about going back to getting your degree? Or, I know you, from what I understand, you're selling pitching nets, the L-Flex or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's called the Web Flex, and we manufacture safe, L screens, Z screens, all the safety nets for baseball and softball. And my father-in-law actually started the company. He's the owner. And when he offered me to, come here and work with him, basically, I said, hell yeah, because now I get to stay in the baseball community without having to, fly here and there every other day, being away from home and missing family and stuff like that. So I get the best of both worlds. I'm still working in the baseball and softball world, and I don't have to travel like a minor league.
And you get to spend time with those beautiful kids of yours, brother.
Absolutely. That's the best part.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I used to work in the engineering field and traveled all over. And my kids were about 7 and 5 when I decided that I wanted to not, do that anymore and switched careers so I could be home with them. Now, obviously, mine wasn't glamorous. I became a teacher. That's not very glamorous, but I'm home, and I was off school the same days they were, and it was amazing. So I understand 100% that choice, man. Kids people don't understand until they have kids, like how much that changes your perspective on everything.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying it affects everybody, but I want to be present. You know, I
Alexa,
don't want
shut
to
up.
be
Yeah.
Sorry.
gone. You're all good. I don't want to be gone 3 days, 5 days out of the week on an away series, and come back and, Baylor, my daughter be mad at me because she didn't know where I went or, something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm enjoying my life right now. I couldn't be in a better place, mentally, emotionally, and physically, whatever the hell y'all want to say. I'm happy as hell, and
There you go.
I don't regret any decisions I've made in my career. So,
And that's most important, Parker, is you being happy, healthy, and able to be there and enjoy your family. And gosh, I mean, yeah, you've kind of lived the life to me. I'm still jealous of you because you got to do some things that I thought I could do, but I wasn't. I will not get into that, but. But I mean, how hard was that decision to make to step away, but at the same time have that avenue to stay involved with baseball?
Yeah. So when I guess when I made the decision, I talked to my wife obviously at the time, and she supports me. Obviously, it was one of those things like when you ask your wife, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" I don't care. What do you want? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, well, I'm trying to consult you here. I want some advice, or whatever it was. But yeah, she was super supportive, and it wasn't honestly that hard to make the decision. And it goes back to the analytical part of all the bullshit in baseball now, and that's literally what made my decision is I don't want to go back to all these suit and tie wearing motherfuckers.
Yeah.
That have my career in their hands and never played the game. You know what I mean? I'm not able to sleep at night knowing that somebody like that is dictating where I go in the game that's never played it.
And here's what gets me about that, to be honest with you, is, I mean, you look at successful teams, right? The Rangers, what do they have? They have a former pitcher as their general manager. They have a former catcher as their manager.
Yep.
They have a former pitcher as their pitching coach, and they just won the World Series. You look at the last few teams, Dusty Baker Dusty Baker won one with the Astros, former player. A lot of the teams that are super successful have former players at the helm, and you're right. It's because you've been there. Sometimes you got to go with your gut. Sometimes it doesn't. No one gives a crap what the analytics say. If your gut says keep him in for one more batter, you keep him in for one more batter instead of going, well, because how many times have you seen in the playoffs, a guy's just mowing everybody down, or in the regular season, the guy's mowing, they pull him out and the next guy gets shelled, man. And you're like, well, the analytics said, well, who cares what the analytics said? If the guy's mowing everybody down, keep him in the game.
Exactly. That's just it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. It's just, I think it's well said by Ben and Parker. It's completely changed. And Parker, I'm glad you made the decision when you did. So.
Me too.
Well, and it's one of those, and to kind of piggyback on what Ben said, that's why, Josh Spores finished the game.
Yep.
Because Bruce Bochy knew the feel of, this guy's already been in there for an inning. It was 1-0 at the time. Absolutely. And he got, the K to end the inning. Instead of bringing Jose Leclerc, he left Spores in there because of the feel of the game.
Because Bochy was here before analytics.
Yep.
I mean, literally, that's it. I'm not gonna say I've seen it happen firsthand, but I know for a fact that it does happen. That these, some of these analytical guys will try and come into a big league clubhouse, and if it's an old school manager and they don't want to see them, they'll fucking kick them right out. Yeah. They understand what it means to have your brain filled full of bullshit when you're trying to get focused on doing your job, right? I mean,
and Parker, you were lucky. Parker, you were one of the fortunate ones. You were luckily, whenever you pitched for the Angels, you had a manager like Mike Scioscia, one of those old school, an old school manager that did it the old school way. And you're one of the fortunate pitchers in today's era to get to experience something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, so, I mean, it goes hand in hand with that old school type thing. I mean, we had basically an option, when the pitching coach would come in before the game, sit down with me and Martin Maldonado most of the times, very seldomly Juan Gratterall, both the catchers that year. he would ask, like, what do you want to know? Because he knew, some of these guys, they'll get to know you good enough that they know that you don't like to be filled full of shit. You just want to go out there. Your job at the end of the day is to be an athlete, right? You're a professional athlete. If I can go on the mound and be an athlete, I'll be okay, right?
Right.
If I have to go out there and try and be an athlete that thinks he's smarter than he is with all this bullshit they're filling you with, that's just a distraction, in my opinion, right? And then that's when you get away from pitching to your strengths. You have to pitch to your strengths as opposed to their weaknesses, and that was my main thing I had to think about.
Now, going down memory lane just real quick, Parker, do you have any like great memory, that maybe some great advice that you could tell some of these younger pitchers that are out there today, maybe that Mike Trout gave you or that Albert Pujols gave you? Do you remember any of those conversations like that, or that you can share?
Yeah. Shit. Man, I've got that was probably the most valuable thing I've got. If you could put a bounty on my head for valuable information from Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, I would be worth a shit ton of money, right? You literally every day you learn something new, whether that be, even if you're not talking to them, you just watch them, right? The way they do stuff. The way they come into the field, what time they get there, why they got there so early, why they're there every day that early. It's because they're the best. That's routine, right? And I think the main thing advice that I would give these young guys, and I think it's the very number one hardest thing to do to develop early, is a routine. Get a routine. Nowadays, there's POs, right? Pitchers only in high school now. That don't even play positions, right? If you're that, man, if you're a PO in high school, you have a huge advantage in later years of your life, right? You at that point, say you're a sophomore and you get on varsity as a PO, you have 3 years to try and get the understanding of what it takes to get a good routine, what it takes to have your body in check every time you're given the ball. To have your body ready to go at 100% capacity every time that your number's called, basically. And that was huge, really. And it sounds naive, but it's legit. If you don't have a routine, you don't feel that well. And you realize that.
We've had several, as you know, you've listened to some of the podcasts, but we've had several players that have been on here, and they from what I understand, they all have a strict routine. It's like a daily schedule of what they're doing. And
Cole Reagan's real strict.
Yeah. I just watched y'all's podcast with him.
Yeah. He's super strict.
Same type thing though. It's the routine is you got to be very, very disciplined in your routine in the season, but you got to be even more. The hard work is in the off season, basically. Is what I'm trying to say. You have nobody there to hold you accountable in the off season, right? If you're serious about your career, and this is some other advice, if you really want to get to where you dream of getting or want to get, stay on the railroad tracks, right? There's no detouring. If there's a party on the right, man, you're still going straight,
Yeah.
You gotta stay on the tracks, even when your friends are out partying and doing all that. And I get it. I went to parties and, whatever, a couple. Well, like I promise you, I was not at parties as much as some of the people that were, and that's kind of where you have to be. Your mind has to not want to do the young shit. You have to have an old mind but a young body, basically.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Let me talk to you about that a little bit, because I remember I sat in your parents' living room with you, and I thought it was going to be about a 1 hour interview, and it turned into 3 hours of you and I just talking and about your routine and your room with guys that are partying their asses off and they're hungover all day long, and you're like, that ain't me. Me.
Can't be. I mean, seriously, if I would have been doing that, then I wouldn't have got to the point I did. There's no way. I mean, you go out and you have 10 beers, your body's messed up for 3 days, and you might not realize it, but if you're trying to perform at a high level like that, then you're in a bad situation. And I've always thought it was smart to not put yourself in a bad situation if you have control of it, right? So if I had control of that, then I'm going to do all I can to feel good. And that don't.
I don't know.
Sense.
I don't know. It sounded like it did John Daly pretty good in golf.
Yeah, well, there's not much physical activity. So, I think it was more of the darts, smoking the darts.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Parker. I'm with you, bud.
No, I 100% agree. I think, I've always thought, especially someone that gets to the majors, like you getting to the majors is basically the base level. Like that's where you're starting once you get to where you want to go. And like you said, that's where you really start putting in the work. That's where your routine got you there. So you double down on that routine instead of thinking, all right, now I'm here, I can relax. That's not how it works at all. I mean, it's the same way for every career. When you get into any new job that you really want to have, that's the beginning. You've got to always be learning, always be training, always be getting ready to go. Because if you're not, like you said, life comes at you fast, man. You'll be doing something else real quick.
Exactly. Yeah. And back to what you just said, be a sponge. That's another piece of advice to kids. Just be a sponge. Anything anybody says, man, good or bad, take it in. You can learn from the
Soak
good
it up.
and the
Yep.
bad.
Love it. So, Parker, we're going to close up here pretty quick. You ended your career with an 11-3 record. That's something a lot of people that we know, we've been around, grew up with. You can say, I won 11 games as a major league pitcher. So
Well, I'll say we did. I wasn't the only one out there. I had my Trout and Ohtani and all these Hall of Famers behind me. So I'll tell you this right now. I there was more incentive to pitch good in front of those dudes. It was almost like you're pitching in front of your idols. So you want to impress them kind of.
And Albert Pujols. Yeah.
Yeah. And I say idols, and Trout's younger than me, and so is Shohei. So that's kind of fucked up, isn't it?
I don't know, dude. Both of them are two of the greatest players I've ever witnessed. So I don't think it's too bad.
Man, it's wild, dude. See their routines, the way they handle their business every day. It's crazy.
Yeah, nobody. We're not going to see another Shohei Ohtani.
No,
I mean,
probably not.
It's not going to happen.
No,
And I know he won MVP this year over our boy Corey Seager and Marcus Semien.
Yeah.
But
he deserved it.
You can't. He absolutely deserved it. And
he deserved it.
We're Angels haters. I've got your signed visor that Tyler gave me.
Yeah,
that's the only Angels thing in my house.
Parker, you actually signed that for me in Chicago when I went and watched you pitch against the White Sox, and I was like, I'll see Parker a lot. I was like, he's my cousin. If I ever need an autograph from Parker, I'm pretty sure he'll sign something for me.
It's not a big deal.
It's family, so he should charge you $100.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I don't sign anything anymore unless it's like a piece of toilet paper. So I don't degrade anything that I sign. That.
Oh, come on now.
Nothing doesn't go down in value anymore, right? It's all
there you go. That's good stuff, Parker. Good stuff.
The analytics say not to sign it anymore, right, Parker?
Yeah.
Well, fuck the analytics.
Yeah, the analytics say, Parker, wipe your ass with it. That's pretty much the analytics.
Parker, on a serious note, thank you so much for doing this. You really don't realize how much it means. We really do appreciate it, and it really means a lot to me. So thank you so much, man.
You don't got to thank me, man. I appreciate
it means a lot here too, brother.
It's an honor. I'm all washed up, not even that much service time. So I appreciate you guys getting my face on this shit.
Hey, yeah. And you got to watch me play quarterback. So you remember my glory days.
Yeah, I do. You still miss it? You still play flag football or anything?
No, my back is all jacked up from the military, but I'm trying.
I do appreciate your service, brother. Seriously.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yes, sir.
Love you, Parker.
All right, Parker. Thank you so much, man.
Parker, go Herd.
Go Herd, baby.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.